Hello everyone, it's Magdalena, Wolf of Kinds. Thank you so much for tuning in. For the Slavs, the elements are sacred. They have traditionally revered them, greeted them with special expressions, personified them, and treated as divine gifts. Today I wanted to talk about rituals related to the element of fire. The word for fire in Slavic languages relates to the ancient Indo-European word "hagni". The similarities can be found, for example, in Latin ignis, Lithuanian ugnis, Vedic Agni. This is also the name of the Hindu god of fire. In Polish we have ogień, ognisko, meaning bonfire. In, for example, Russian, there is agon. So seeing how the Slavic word is close to the ancient stem, we must conclude that this name was indeed held very dear. A Persian traveler in the 10th century, Ibn Rustah, wrote that the Slavs are fire worshippers. It has been suggested by some scholars that in his tradition this barely meant idolatry. However, in a 12th century sermon called A Word of a so-called Christolubiec, we can read that even after 200 years of Christianity in Rus, so East Slavic lands, the people still prayed to the fire and call him Svarožic. Svarožic is one of the divine names that are common to all Slavic territories. Western, Eastern, and Southern. It is not so common because most regions had their own divine names and euphemisms for their gods. However, Svarožic appears everywhere. Fire was euphemistically called a guest in a red cloak, and Svarožic's colors were red and gold. The name Svarožic means either son of Svarog, the god of sky and the sun, or a diminutive of Svarog, as the sun is the heavenly fire. And by diminutive, it has this kind of respect/endearment shade to it. But we are not certain which one is the right interpretation. Lusatians, Western Slavs who live in modern-day Germany, in the ancient times were said to worship a god called Flins or Plins, possibly from a word related to burning or stone, which was used to create fire. He was a god of fire and a god of the dead. He accompanied souls to the afterlife. It might be one of the names of Svarožic. Flins was showed either as an old man, a jad, or a dead man. He was standing on a rock, held a torch in his hand, and had a lion on his arm. It is a bit strange since lions lived further south, but maybe it was a different animal before. The lion was said to resurrect the followers of Flins. And this is not clear what it meant, because it was written by Christians, so what they meant on the resurrection might be different to what the Slavs meant. But it is intriguing, for sure. In my opinion, it could have been that Flins's fire purified the soul and the god took the soul to the afterlife or directly to reincarnate. But we don't really know. On spring equinox, that is near, later in Christian times, on Easter, people would put out home fires and start a new fire called the living fire. And now I will be talking mostly about the situation in Poland because that is what I am most familiar with. However, I believe that the attitude towards the elements, including fire, was pretty similar among all of the Slavs. So yes, on the spring equinox, the fires at home hearths would be put out, and the living fire was a fire started with traditional ancient techniques. Matches were forbidden to use. Traditionally, 2 pieces of wood would be used, or a stick wrapped on a wall of a house or barn. It is called fire drill. When the fire was ritually extinguished, it was believed that the old fire was tired and contaminated by the contact with the material world and needed to be renewed to be strong again, to be able to purify and protect humans and animals alike against illness and plagues. The ritual way of starting fire was perceived as a sexual act, starting new life. That's why it was called the living fire. It was needed to recreate the world each year. And here I will only say that on spring equinox, later Easter, there are a lot of rituals related to keeping the world alive and recreating it. For example, we have the painted eggs, pisanki, which are then bumped against each other, and through this cracking of the egg, the world could be reborn, because it was also believed that if people stopped making those dyed and painted eggs, the world would end. But back to the fire drills, the woods used were picked because of their protective properties. Woods such as poplar, hazel, and aspen. Later, when Christianity came, the Easter living fire or sacred fire would be started on a church wall instead of a barn or a house. In 1992, holes on St. Nicholas's Cathedral in Elbląg in Poland were counted, and there were 1,054 marks. So it was really popular and important. Once the living fire was started, people could take the new fire to their homes and place it in their hearths. Kazimierz Moszyński, a great Polish ethnographer, collected some fire-related tradition from Polish villages. He was told that you have to respect fire as much as God himself. The villagers never put out their fire completely, except for some special moments during the year. They would keep the embers going during the night till morning. When lighting a candle in the evening, using the eternal flame from the hearth, you should say, "Praise be to the sacred fire." When moving out to the new house, people would transport fire from the old hearth to their new home. The home fire was personified, and the lady of the house would greet him in the morning and say good night in the evening. She would also make an offering of a bucket of water so that the fire can have a bath. And for example, boiling water was seen as the fire dancing inside the water. Fire was also an essential part of the summer solstice celebrations, Kupala night. People would dance around and jump over the fires to be purified and protected. Young couples would jump over the fire together, holding hands, thus sealing their marriage. On the other side of the year, we have the winter solstice and the custom of the South Slavs, a kind of a Yule log called Badniak. Yet another holiday cannot happen without fire. The Day of the Dead. Around November the 1st, it was customary to make bonfires for the souls visiting the living, so they could get warm after their long journey from Navia, the underworld. It was banned by the church, but never really died out. So nowadays we light grave lamps called znicz, which has a meaning of a sacred fire or eternal fire. And here you can see how Polish cemeteries look around this time of the year at night. The role of Starożyc was inherited by a number of saints. In Poland, fire-related saints are Saint Agatha, Saint Florian as the patron of firemen, and Saint Lawrence, in Polish Wawrzyniec. Today, I wanted to look especially at Saint Lawrence, who seems to have inherited quite a bit from Starożyc, the fire god. Saint Lawrence used to be extremely popular in Poland. There are many churches and chapels under his name. As a historical figure, he was a martyr from the 3rd century, tortured with fire on an iron crate. That's why he is celebrated as a fire saint, a protector from fire and a patron of the family hearth, the sacred center of the home. In Wielkopolska region, Saint Lawrence would be addressed each morning and evening to protect the family fire. In Poznańskie, a region of Poland, in case of a fire, people would stand in front of the burning building with an image of Saint Lawrence. We can easily imagine a pagan god in his place in earlier times. In the regions of Mazovia, this is my region by the way, Mazovia, Kujawy and Wielkopolska, the home fire would be extinguished on August the 9th, the eve of Saint Lawrence Day. At midnight on the 10th of August, so the proper Saint Lawrence Day, a new ritual fire was started. The period of no fire was believed to be the time for the fire to rest. What is interesting, this time of the year is a time of the Perseid meteor showers, one of the most regular showers. It happens between July 17th and August 24th, but the most intense period happens around 12th and 13th of August, so right after St. Lawrence Day. The falling stars are called in folklore Tears of St. Lawrence. In Ziemia Chełmińska region, people used to believe that on St. Lawrence Day, the stars were shaking from grief on St. Lawrence martyrdom. It is also possible that creating new fire during that time was to use the heavenly fire, the power of the heavenly fire, so the falling stars, to create an even more powerful fire. St. Lawrence is also related to the Milky Way, also called St. Lawrence's Road. What's curious is that the Milky Way in folk tradition is a road through which the dead travel to afterlife during the night. During the day, it's the rainbow. It was believed that St. Lawrence travels each Friday to the purgatory to escort one soul to paradise. It has its parallel in Mother Mary also visiting once per week, I think on a Wednesday, and escorting one soul. It is possible that previously it was more about escorting the souls to the afterlife to pass the river that was the border between the worlds. So escort them to Navia or Viraj. So both Saint Lawrence, the fire god, sounding a lot like Flints, and Mother Mary, a goddess, maybe Morana, were psychopomps like Greek Hermes, and they escorted souls to the afterlife. In Beskid Żywiecki, on the eve of St. Lawrence Day, still in the 20th century, huge bonfires from 10 to 30 meters high, that's from 33 to 98 feet, were burned on the hills. These fires are called Wawrzyńcowe Chudy, meaning tall fires of Lawrence or laurel. According to the legend, during a plague, a Highlander called Wawrzyn, meaning laurel, had a prophetic dream about a pillar of fire burning from the earth to the skies. People burned high fires on the hills to chase the plague away, and the area was saved. The Chuda is built from wooden planks, juniper branches in the old times, and you can see my video on juniper properties and its uses in magic in Slavic tradition. Nowadays it's spruce branches, and an effigy of Saint Lawrence is put on top together with little firs decorated with colorful ribbons. Traditionally, it was an event to party, to dance, to make noise, to jump over fire. Girls would run down the slope with the fire from the houdah placed in hollowed out spruce cones. The bonfire had to burn till the end. There was no artificially extinguishing it. Another instance of creating the houdah was in case of a plague. So the sacred fire was able to purify the area and chase the illness away. Today the houdah is burned only in Uisoe village, but this is more of a tourist attraction and an act of tending to the culture, not a real ritual anymore. However, people still tend to believe in the power of the sacred fire. During the pandemic, it was not possible to make an assembly to celebrate the houdah, so the burning was transmitted live on the internet. The mayor, commenting on the situation, said, "The houdah will burn again for sure, just like the last year or 100 or 200 years ago." And finally, like when it burned for the first time, chasing the plague away from Uisoe. The history have made a circle. We have a plague again, and we are reaching for fire to burn the plague to the ground. This is what I have for you today. Please let me know what you thought. If you can share any information from your regions or what you've heard from your families, and and how is fire celebrated in your cultures as well? I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day. Bye.